For all you Pawn Stars fans out there, get ready for the drama. Watching people work in an interesting pawn shop is all fun and games, until you get to see customers getting into a full rage. There have been some super heated moments where our cast has not been spared the temper of an unhappy customer. Now in this video, we're going to talk about these heated moments. First off, at number 8, we have the pocket watch incident. This incident was pretty entertaining, and we're sure you agree with us. It started with a female customer entering the shop and trying to sell a pocket watch she had. Now this wasn't any ordinary pocket watch. It had an engraving on the back and a specific design that showed that it was from a civil war in the 1800s. And we know what that means. Cha-ching! Rick Harrison was behind the counter, and after getting it verified with a specialist, he found that it was authentic. The woman tried to play it off by saying that it was just something she bought casually at a garage sale, but both knew the true value of the watch. The discussion started with the woman offering Rick a price of $2,000. The watch was in perfect condition, and it was probably worth that much, but why settle when you can negotiate, right? Rick countered with his offer of $700, and the negotiations got pretty heated, but we all know the item was worth the money and the hype. The two finally landed on $1,300 as a midpoint, and the woman got a pretty huge profit considering she bought it for just $20.
Bought it for $20, and I'm walking out with $1,300. I'm ecstatic. I couldn't be happier.
At number 7, we have the World War II items incident. If you've been watching Pawn Stars for some time now, then you know that Rick is pretty talented when it comes to this business. He's the kind of person who has a knack for negotiating and getting what he wants, how he wants it. But there are some times, not often, that he has run into people of the equal match. That's when he knows he might not benefit from the situation as much, and we have one incident where he saw this. In one episode, Rick traveled all the way to Southern California to get some items for a shop. He found a private showroom which had priceless items from World War II, which were in pretty good condition. Now when he sees something valuable, he has to have it, of course. Now the shop owner also knows how to haggle. On one end, we have him trying to make a profit, while on the other end, we have Rick trying to make sure he can resell this item at a higher price too. After some heated back and forth where neither could seem to settle on one thing, Rick ended up with 2 World War II era bags and a vintage submarine battle flag worth $5,075. This was way less than what he thought he'd be walking out with, but the owner beat him at his game. So not only did we have a heated negotiation, but we also saw Rick meeting someone of his match. At number 6, we have the Perseus and Pegasus statue incident. The incident started off with a customer entering the pawn shop with a Perseus and Pegasus statue that he claimed was worth a lot. Given the Greek mythology behind it, he was probably right, but when you're in the pawn business, there's always more to it than meets the eye, and Rick knew that. Before agreeing to the customer's demand or placing a value on it, he decided to examine it thoroughly to check its authenticity. Everything seemed to be fine in the beginning, till Rick saw something that made him rethink his decision to make an offer. The statue had a stain as well as a crack. The customer gets angry and thinks Rick is making a big deal out of nothing and starts to call him names. This is where Richard steps in. He knows Rick is right, but he doesn't want to rile the customer further, so he calmly thanks him and declines to buy the statue.
We don't know. We're in the business to make money. But when we don't feel comfortable with something, we're going to back off.
At number 5, we have the Pez collection incident. In this incident, we have a customer who walked in with a case of empty candy dispensers, and he claims it's from the 60s. Corey and Chumley are the ones manning the counter this time. Chumley makes a comment saying that empty candy containers are worth nothing, and this is more of a kid's collection item. Even though it doesn't look like it's worth much, the two Pawn Stars give the customer the benefit of the doubt, and Corey asks him how much he wants for it. Now, how much do you think empty candy containers from the 60s are worth? Apparently, this customer thought they were worth around $2,500. Corey counters with $1,000, but the customer is not happy with that. Their negotiation gets a little heated, with the customer now giving a price of $2,000, but Corey and Chumley don't budge. The customer gets pretty angry at having his collection undervalued like that and leaves the store. Better luck next time. Now at number 4, we have the flintlock pistol incident. This time it's not the customer trying to rip off the pawn store, but finding out that he was ripped off himself. This incident came with a twist. The customer is a pretty simple guy who's a gun collector. When he comes into the shop, he claims that this flintlock pistol is his prized possession. He offers Corey an initial value of $1,000, which isn't that shocking, considering antiques are worth a lot. Corey seriously considers the offer, but calls in an expert just to make sure. After asking the customer about it and examining the weapon, the expert claims that it's actually a reproduction. The customer looks at him shell-shocked after this announcement and wants to know how he can tell. The expert points out that the markings and engravings look printed instead of hand-carved, and that there should be some marks on the barrel that are not there. The customer leaves the shop after realizing that he was scammed and screams curses in the street. Who can blame him? He paid $1,800 for it. At number 3, we have the 1995 World Series ring incident. Claiming that you have the World Series ring and you want to sell it is a pretty far-fetched story, and Corey thought so too. A customer entered the pawn shop and presented his ring to Corey in Chumley. He claims that it's the original Atlanta Braves one and asked for $13,000. That's a huge ask, and Corey thought so too, so he called in a sports expert. The customer seemed skeptical about it in the beginning, but Corey manages to convince him. The expert examines the ring, and after giving us a brief history of the ring, says that the original version of the ring was made by the company Jostens. The company also prints its company's logo inside the ring, and after checking, the expert showed that the logo wasn't there. He then says that since everything else looks fine, this must be one of the early trial versions given to the head of the team by the company to show off the design. The customer looks pretty angry after such a huge devaluation of his item. The expert values it at $2,000, but the customer gets even pissed. Corey gives a final offer of $800, but the customer isn't looking to settle for such a small offer and leaves with his ring. At number 2, we have the Lincoln family photo incident. In this one, it's Rick manning the counter when a customer walks in with what he claims is an original photo of Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. Rick asks the customer how much he's asking for the photo. The customer asks for a whopping $1 million. This amount leaves Rick's eyes open in shock. He asks the customer if he can bring in an expert. After the expert did a close examination of the photo and a picture of Lincoln, something no one expected happened. The expert points out that the shape of his head is actually different in the customer's photo and the eyes don't match. The customer doesn't look too happy with her findings, so she also offers to do a facial recognition of Mary Todd's face to see if it matches an actual picture of her. The results show that her face and her eyebrow shape are actually different. The customer seems pretty unhappy now and tries to discredit the expert by claiming that he knows more. After a heated argument between the two, Rick has to choose a side and he sticks to his expert's verdict. Finally, at number 1, we have the Smith & Wesson gun incident. A woman walks into the pawn shop showcasing her item proudly, a rare Smith & Wesson gun. This is a pretty good antique, which a collector would be proud to have since there were only a limited number of them ever made. The customer says that she needs the money for her granddaughter, which is why she wants to sell it. Rick shows that he's a history buff when he explains the whole story behind these limited versions of a design that went flop in its time. It's pretty rare, so obviously that makes it a good collector's item automatically, but some parts of the customer's story don't sound believable to Rick, so you guessed it, he calls in one of his experts. The expert he calls in specializes in military collectibles and antique firearms. He takes a closer look at the gun and states the obvious, that it's not in great condition. The woman starts to realize that her item might be getting devalued, but the expert then points out that it has the markings at the bottom, which proves that it is an original. This is one deal on our list that doesn't fall through. The expert values it at $1,000, even though the woman's initial ask was $5,000. Rick offers her $800 after the expert leaves, and the two finally settle it at $875.
Between $800 and $1,000.
Are you serious? Is
Yeah.
that it?
I think as a dealer, you buy it and you hope you find the guy that needs the grips.
That's all for this video. Which was the most heated moment for you? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content in the future. Thanks for watching. See you next time.